Part 2. I should have known better. I've moved out like he asked and got my own place. I gave him the code to my place, and although he forgot it, he did come by this morning to hook speakers up around the TV for me. And he stayed for about 45 minutes and we just talked about random things. But that may be because he had just finished working a 29-hour shift and he was tired on my couch. I went to a counselor and I feel like nothing was accomplished with him. It was a pretty poor session and he didn't help at all. I feel like I need to keep seeing a counselor, but now I don't know what we'd talk about seeing, as my husband wouldn't be there, I don't think. At least not yet. I've been reading my books on being a better wife and ways to cope with an affair. And why I may have had my affair. He's seen me reading these books, and although he hasn't said anything about them, I can tell he appreciates it. We had a long text message conversation last night while he was sitting at his work desk for 29 hours. We also had a 30-minute phone convo just for fun while I was grocery shopping. Neither of these conversations included the other man, the affair, or any anger. In fact, my mom and I are taking a painting class this weekend and are also looking into cooking classes so that I have new hobbies and things to discuss with him. And when I told him about this, he got excited for me and was thinking about new hobbies he may look into. Well, I'm kind of out of ideas now, and the idea of me just sitting here and waiting while not doing anything to help our marriage seems unproductive. He's going out of town for about 2 days again this weekend, which worries me because his dad is going to drill back into his head that I am no good and to never talk to me again, basically, which will set us back a few steps. Is there anything I could do? And I am confused as heck about my counseling session still. Isn't it supposed to be helpful? The counselor was more confused than I was and spent 25 minutes or so talking about his own dang marriage. My husband is most definitely angry. I am not saying he is indifferent, but he told me he wants to start seeing me when he believes most of our convos will be about our day-to-day life and that this issue will be an afterthought. He wants to move past it, I can tell. He is calling me baby, sweetie, all the old terms of endearment again. He has also started joking around about the things we used to. And although when he asked me to move out, he said we should start off seeing each other extremely slow, like once every week or two, he has actually been seeing me every day still. His dad can have whatever thoughts he wants. And no, if I had a son whose wife cheated on him, I am almost certain that while I would be disappointed in her, I wouldn't hate her or talk crap about her. Just like when my whole family thought he cheated on me 2 years ago. My parents were disappointed but still were supportive of our marriage and still made sure we could work it out, since we both wanted to. His dad is extremely self-absorbed and doesn't even trust his own wife. He thinks he is God's gift to the world and talks down on everyone, including his son. In the past, his dad has swayed him to do things he shouldn't have done. I don't know if he is still listening to him or not, because even my husband understands how his dad is. I never looked at my husband like a child. That is another assumption made by someone on this forum. Not surprised anymore. And not the counselor was honest to God just talking about his marriages. Only one reference he made to his first marriage was somewhat related to what I was even there for. And it was all of a 15-second part of his 30-minute ramble about his past. If you still think I just must have not been paying attention or putting the pieces together, he spent about 10 minutes talking about Vietnam and what TV shows him and his first wife liked to watch together 30 years ago. I went ahead and scheduled an app with a totally different counselor. I would have stuck around with him to see how he'd turn out. But with the Army I only get 12 free sessions, and so I'd like to get the most out of those 12 that I can. And if I need more, then I will most definitely contribute out of pocket, as long as I find a good counselor. And I am sorry that because I want to do as much as possible to help him heal and mend our relationship, as long as that may take, that you assume that means I just want to pretend like it didn't happen and just basically nag him to get over it. Sometimes he initiates contact and sometimes I initiate contact. About 65% of the time, it's asking each other for favors or figuring out some quick info. The rest of the time it's us just talking and joking around like normal. Should I keep initiating contact some of the time? Or should I just stop and wait for him to contact me? Cause in the beginning of all this, he said he will initiate contact and seeing each other if he even decided to do that. But we're seeing each other daily and calling, texting each other about 10 separate times a day. I want to respect what he said earlier, but at the same time he isn't even doing what he was saying he would, and so I feel if I just cut down on my contact with him it may make him feel I don't care anymore or something. I have no blame to put on him. Yeah, okay, our bonding life wasn't good at all to me, but it was to him. But that had nothing to do with it because I had been putting up with it and had no intentions of cheating. Not until he deployed for a year and I got lonely. So, my choice to cheat, stupid me, was pretty much all on me. No motivators besides pure loneliness. If the physical thing were maybe a motivation, sometimes I think what if we had mind-blowing sex all the time? I would have turned the other cheek with the OM because I knew what I'd be getting when the husband got home. It would only be like 10% of it at best. I don't know though, maybe in counseling I will discover it was more than that and I was longing for good bonding again. But for now, I know that me being lonely is what caused this affair and I place no blame on him. I will just say to him I am confused and I will wait for you to contact me as I want to make sure you don't think I'm smothering you, or something better worded but along those lines. I have my husband's Facebook password and him and his ex-best friend's ex-girlfriend were meeting up last week 3 hours away for drinks to talk about my affair. He went to Otherford again yesterday and I checked his FB account and this same girl sent him a list of hotels in Galveston to check out. I called him and asked if they were a couple and he said no, but we will talk about it later because they were together right now. So, I texted him and he said they are not a couple but he enjoys talking to her and that the hotel thing was because him and his best friend and his wife were looking into going to Galveston for a short vacation and him and this other lady were thinking about going with. I am so hurt. I know I caused this and I had the affair. But the fact that he's doing this within 12 days makes me wonder if this marriage was even that important to him to begin with. I feel like killing myself honestly, mainly because I am trying everything I can to be the best wife possible, and I'm about to move out of this apartment and into my old house with him and force myself to be there. I am so hurt. I feel like an idiot for saying that, but the tears are coming down so hard right now and I am in a crazy amount of pain thinking of them out to dinner together right now. I am calling in on Post Chaplain because I don't trust myself right now. When I say I am going to force myself back into the house, it's not that I don't want to be there. I want more than anything to be there. He told me if I want any chance at reconciliation that I need to move out. So I got an apartment the very next day. I believe that they aren't a couple but they are planning on getting a hotel room together on a vacation we planned together. I am sure by whatever time this vacation happens, they will be in the same room. Well, actually my main goal is to get our marriage back on track, but I need to do the other stuff to get there. Here's the thing though, I am in an awkward position right now. I can't be all like quit talking to other females. You're still married because of what I did obviously. But him telling me there is a teeny tiny bit of hope for us. Then going out with a female friend isn't helping anything. I feel though that since he hasn't told me to go away, he owes our marriage something until that point. I would love to ask him to remain free of female friends until that point, but don't know if that's inappropriate. He said to me that if I want any chance in this relationship being fixed, I need to move out. So, I did. He said he needed to clear his mind and he's afraid that if we live in the same household, I will pressure him to be with me. My intentions were to just live life the way I am living it here in this apartment and hope he decides to work on us with me. I wasn't going to sit there and say, you have to be with me or else. But this chaplain we are seeing on Tuesday is very much wanting us to live together, and so I am hoping having such a respectable figure tell him this will make me not look like such a bad guy for moving in. I am moving back after the Tuesday apt I've decided. At least I will have someone else in front of him agreeing that I should. Absolutely nothing good is coming from me in this apartment. Well, before this other female, I was doing okay and focusing on me and I thought him and I were making progress, but apparently not quite the progress I was hoping for. I am so confused. Just the other day he said he wasn't looking for a relationship. He doesn't trust any females now. And he's stuck on me. He tells me today he has no feelings for her and they aren't having sex. However, it's been 5 hours since his phone died and it hasn't been back on since. I am hoping it means he fell asleep, but my emotions and anxiety are thinking OMG, what if he is with her again? So, what is he doing or what are his motives if he isn't trying to be in a relationship or have sex with her? Is he lying? I always had intentions of telling my husband for one thing. I told the OM I was going to, and the OM started nagging me after my husband was home for one day as to why I didn't tell him. And I said because he just got home. I want him to enjoy something before then. So yes, I waited 17 days to tell him. I didn't tell him because he was snooping. I didn't find out he was snooping until a couple days after D-Day. Yes, now I am beginning to understand exactly what he went through, and the part that is really hurting is the fact that I have no clue if anything happened or not. It's just me guessing. But from everything I've read, him having a revenge affair is just going to hurt him even more. Last night when his phone died at around 10 p.m., I called him one last time at 2 a.m. and it was still dead. I called him this morning at 10:45 a.m. and it was no longer dead. So, he either was out and about and then came home after 2 a.m. and charged his phone, or he went to sleep after his phone died and charged it in the morning. Probably the first thing. The only thing I was going to force was moving into my own home. I didn't say I was going to tell him not to talk to anyone and be in a marriage bubble. Do I want to tell him that? Yes. Am I going to? No. I will strain the fact that if he isn't telling me yes or no, he needs to hold off in this planning vacation. And I've said it several times now. The only work I need him to do is attend MC with me. That was it. I didn't say he has to do other stuff, but I need him to do that until he tells me to leave him alone for good. And he said yes. I have a right to be upset at this situation, just like my husband has even more of a right to be angry since he didn't cause this situation. Just because I did this doesn't mean I can't be disappointed or upset. Like any of you haven't made a bad choice and regretted it later. I doubt it. My husband, as much pain as I've caused him, can't be telling me there is some hope and do this and that. while I go out mingling with another woman. If that is what he wants to do, then by all means I will accept it once he tells me to go away. But he hasn't. So now he is a cake eater as well as me. And I can be in the home that I helped buy and build. It's just whether or not I choose to do what he asked. He asked so he could clear his mind and we can slowly start dating again. I agreed to these terms. I did not agree to move out so he can have someone else in another town as well. So, if I put myself into the house, it's not because I just couldn't take living alone. Actually, I was enjoying my time in the apartment and gathering my own thoughts up until this other lady came in the picture. If she wasn't in the picture, I would be fine and having no desire to put myself back into the home without his acknowledgement and wishes. But at this point, what do I have to lose? If I stay here, I lose. If I go into our home, there may be a chance. Better I feel than me being here. And if it gets to the point where zero benefits come from me being there, I will move out. I decided a few days ago, on my own, that I am not moving back in. I became crazy control lady on set and even he told me that this is not who I normally am. And I need to stop. I told him that the hotel thing really messed me up. I am not forcing him to make this marriage work. I said if you are telling me there is a 1% chance, we can make it work. Let's go to counseling. And guess what? He contacts me at least 3x a day about when we are going to go. He almost seems excited. Now here is the crappy part. On set when he told me I am being crazy, I was. He said this relationship being saved is on me. If I decide I want to date someone, then maybe later on I may not like the girl and she isn't anywhere near as good as you were. Then we can work it out. Or maybe I don't want to date. I am not trying to date anyone right now, but if it happens, you need to accept it. Because like I said, I might end up coming right back to you. But if you date anyone, you can consider this marriage 100% completely over. I could get over him being with someone else. I could get over almost anything for a certain period of time. But for some reason that last line of his struck a nerve, and unfortunately, I have been extremely numb since that conversation. He still says they haven't had sex or anything, and I do believe him because he had the opportunity to stay in FD Worth for one more day and he chose to come home early. Which, knowing him, if he wanted to there with someone he would have. But I kind of feel like I am doing the 180 on him now, which I shouldn't. I know, but that's kind of what giving him space is about. Like when he came home yesterday, he stopped by my place to hook up my Xbox. I told him it's fine and I will figure it out on my own. He asked if I was sure. I said yes. He left and for the first time since this whole thing started, I did not give him a hug or walk him to the car. He never initiates a hug with me, no, which is understandable. I could tell he was confused by my being short with him, but still pleasant. And I haven't called him not one time since that or texted him. He ended up calling me within 5 minutes of leaving my house yesterday. I imagine that me begging for forgiveness, like, it is unappealing to him as it is to the WS when the LS beg for them back. So, if he wants to chase, by all means he can chase me. But I am not putting myself out there like that again. We have our MC with the chaplain tomorrow. We'll see how that goes. I am still so numb and almost uncaring at this point. I know I did wrong, but basically demanding me to wait if he decides to bang everyone. Well, killed a lot of my drive for this marriage. I believe it's temporary, but who knows? I'm going to let time decide this one for me. I am in a happy place right now though, so I am just enjoying it again, and I am not going to let the which may possibly come up in his life drag me down, cause it's not helping our situation. The marriage was fine because we were both extremely happy. Only fought about 4 or 5 times a year. Never had any financial worries at all. Spent all of our time together doing new and fun things. And we both were doing well, him in his career and me with my school. Just because I cheated, doesn't mean our marriage sucked, as much as I am sure you wished it did. It seems like I cheated out of selfishness and loneliness. If my age is creeping out, then so be it. I am 22 years old. I have seen people of all ages acting like this. I am numb, to the point where I just don't care. And me looking at his Facebook or phone records to see how much time he puts into this wasn't doing anything to help me at all. So, I am done. He doesn't want me trying so hard to fix the marriage. He wants to be chill about it. And coincidentally, me focusing on myself and not worrying what he is doing, is making me, yes, me, I am being selfish here again, feel like the old me who is mentally stable, and it seems to be making him more intrigued by me. But if it doesn't work out, I can't stop him from doing that or doing what he wants to do. So be it. Some of you guys are as informative as a therapist almost, while others help me out as much as a dirty sock. And with that, I am going to take my dog out for a run. Also, to add, I honest to God think he was trying to mentally punish me with the I don't think he has it in him to actually go through with anything, because as soon as I stopped showing it hurt me, he stopped doing it. Immature, yes, but definitely understandable cause with me and my immaturity. I would have done the same thing, I am sure, which doesn't help anyone. He just called. He claimed he called to ask if I wanted our exercise mat to put under the dog's kennel. But that was a 2-second part of the convo. He was actually calling to see what I was up to and what I was doing. So, I will continue letting him go at his own pace. But yes, digging through to his stuff to find out what he was doing was completely detrimental, and I hate turning into crazy lady. The chaplain said he was going to call me back when he's in his office to schedule a time for us to come in tomorrow. I've already tried to ask him if we can just be exclusive in our convo on Saturday, and he basically thought that was hypocritical of me to ask. I do see his point. Almost anything I ask of him sounds incredibly hypocritical. But at the same time, if we don't do these things now, there is no hope for us. But I think that's what he wants anyways, and he was just messing with my emotions. The only helpful thing my counselor told me was, do you think he just has you in the punishment phase now? And I believe so. But he is slowly reaching out to me since I am not blowing his phone up. I feel silly looking back for doing that, but at the same time I understand that I was hurting a lot. I don't think he is actually having an affair with her. Their FB messages, only about 4 each, seem friendly. The phone records indicated that over a week-long period, they only chatted on the phone about 2 hours, and sent about 50 text messages, mostly her though. It's more than I'd like, but I know that between me and the OM, we texted a lot more than that, and he only lived 10 minutes away. Not 3 hours like the O, so he has only seen her 4 days max since he only can go there on the weekends. Plus, like I said, he had no work from Thursday to Monday, and he chose to leave late Thursday night and came back Sunday evening. I know when we were dating and he was in the army, he'd fly to Texas and we'd spend every hour possible with each other till he had to go back to TN, so he cut the trip 1 day shorter than he had to. Plus, he said there wasn't any emotional or physical stuff happening. But yes, this is still cake eating if he intends on doing it later. I will see what this chaplain has to say tomorrow, because I still very much want to make the marriage work. However, my crazy attitude that I had this weekend has to be over. I am not asking him to choose to be with me forever, but I am asking if he has a little bit of hope for us like he says he does, to be willing to accompany me to MC, which he is, and not hang around other women in large amounts, which he is doing and shouldn't at this time. I honestly don't think he could go through with a revenge affair, but I might be completely incorrect as he was in thinking I'd never cheat. Speaking of that, yesterday I was running late for work and I accidentally left my wedding ring on my kitchen counter. I always still wear mine, he hasn't been. And I got approached by 3 men during my 7-hour shift. I told them all I was separated and I cheated on my husband and I am trying to make it better. And it is disgusting how they all said that it's your husband's fault you cheated. Don't blame yourself. Can I have your number? I was extremely repulsed. I know they were just saying it to get laid, but that is just disgusting to me. Never leaving my ring at home again. He said that when I was blowing his phone up, it almost seemed not worth it to even give us a chance, so I stopped right there. I should have just kept my nose out of the phone records and such, because that put me in freak-out mode and pushed him away. I think he enjoys being in control of when we talk, and that is fine with me. Plus, with me not contacting him, and the only way we talk is if he initiates it. It lets me know how often he wants to talk and that he is talking to me solely because he wants to talk to me. I think it is easier this way, at least for me. But apparently, it's easier for him too since this is what he wanted. Yeah, that whole being 100% honest, and if you don't tell him something that's lying by omission also pissed him off. I remembered a piece of information that I deemed necessary to tell him that he hadn't asked about, and I told him and he blew up, cussing and screaming, all that. A brief synopsis. During the deployment they get to come home for 2 weeks. In the middle of this 2-week period, the OM had the brilliant idea, complete sarcasm, to show up at my house at 3 a.m. and ask my husband to help jump his motorcycle battery. When the doorbell rang, I immediately knew who it was and I went into the bedroom to pretend to be sleeping because I had no idea what the other man was doing. The next day I texted him asking, what the hell was he thinking? And his answer was, well, you talk so highly of your husband, so I wanted to check and make sure he is really a good guy for you. I was about to kill the OM anyways. Months later my husband was still asking all the neighbors if they knew this man because apparently the other man said he lived down the street. So, I figured since the show up bothered him so much and he was still so confused about it, it was my job as the WS to inform him that was the OM who completely disrespected him in his own house. So, after my husband finished cussing and screaming, he politely asked me to never divulge anything unless he asks, and he's not really asking anything. Anyways, I hope he doesn't do the R, but if he did, I would obviously forgive him. But he is such a good and honest man, I don't think he could lower himself to that like I did. He may be young as well, but he is a very, very good man, which makes me feel even more retarded. But later tonight I have to go to my old neighborhood to watch my friend's dogs, and I will stop by the house and drop him off some of this awesome brisket I am making. Then leave, cause I know he's probably eating like crap. Just went to this random gas station and I'm sitting in my car listening to music waiting for the gas to finish pumping, and this little 15-year-old looking boy is harassing me outside of my car. But guess who was already 2 pump stations away and was watching me? My husband. Randomly ironic. Anyways, so he's watching and thinks that this little boy is the OM, so he puts his pistol in the holster on his hip. He has a CHL. And also had said pistol on him when the OM knocked on the door at 3 a.m. So, in doing so, he terrifies this little old lady who was pumping gas and watching him. Then he waves at me, so I walk over to him and he asks if that is the OM. Yes, that little 15-year-old looking boy. And I just laughed, and he told me about this lady who is now sitting there watching us. So, I guess he felt if that were the OM, he would need to be ready or something. We chit-chatted while he filled his tank up and had some laughs, then went our separate ways. How random is that? I am a dog trainer at PetSmart. These were random customers. They each asked in their own corny way if I had a boyfriend. I said no. I am married. 2 of them asked why I wasn't wearing my wedding ring. Looking back, now I should have just left it and I forgot it, but it does feel nice to talk about my current huge self-inflicted problem. I have before forgotten my wedding ring, and never had this problem. It's almost like I reeked of separation or something. However, I wasn't flirty in the slightest, nor showing any interest. In fact, the last 2 guys, I was currently crashing after my energy pill wore off, and don't see how my attitude was attractive at all. I was grumpy, sleepy. The first guy ended up talking to me for an hour. The other 2 were about 25 minutes or so. The first guy was the most persistent. I do not know these people. I was just doing my job. But yes, they were all jerks and trying to take advantage of my situation. I do have an issue with trusting people too much. I try to think that people are mainly good and have mostly good intentions. These men seemed fine to discuss this with until they brought up exchanging phone numbers and hanging out. They weren't in my training classes though. In between classes, my job is to sell training classes and help customers find things in the store. One started off with looking at kennels, the other dog food, the other floor cleaner. I am extremely open. I never viewed it as something negative. However, I would never discuss this with someone in my classes. But if they approach me in an unprofessional way, I feel I can be more open about my normal self and less of a salesperson. And honestly, most of my friends do not know about the affair, even with my husband exposing it. I just don't feel like telling everyone yet because I feel it's none of their business. However, I guess telling strangers is a little therapeutic, even if their intentions aren't the same as mine. If I spent 2 hours talking about my personal life, I am pretty sure my manager would have been angry. The reason the first guy got an hour of my time is because he just got a new puppy and needed help with basically everything. Near the last 20 minutes is when he openly admitted he was interested in me, and I told him I am married. Then we'd go back to dog stuff, and he'd bring up a relationship again. Then back to the dogs. Same with the other 2 as well. I don't go to work to get people's numbers or chit-chat about my personal life. Although some customers feel the need to tell me all about theirs. About 85% of the conversation for all of them was about the dogs, all turned back to that subject by me. The last thing I want is to bring another male of any type into my life. Right now, I am staying away from all men who aren't my husband like the plague. Every job I've ever had has been about customer service. A lot of my jobs have been almost only paid through tips. I have very good customer service skills, and I can listen to a customer talk about themselves and keep a smile on my face for hours. And in nursing school, now I get to listen to my patients. To me, it's purely customer service and being polite. Not that this matters to any of you guys, but if you saw my post a while ago, I only like black men. I haven't been attracted to a white man since I was 12, and no other race besides black has been appealing to me since then. None of these other men were of the race I prefer. So I can guarantee that my friendliness had nothing physical or other motives to it. I was more interested in their dogs and helping them out with that problem. But yes, I am a very open individual. In fact, that is what attracted the other man so much to me. He said that while all the other employees treated him poorly, I am the only one who helped him with a smile on my face and didn't care that he dressed in basketball shorts. And I was just a nice person. My customer service skills are the reason I get a raise every 3 months. And I have been acknowledged by the regional manager here. But I am aware I should have cut the conversations short. I guess it's just nice to talk about. Anyways, my husband asked me out to dinner last night. We had fun, maybe cause the margaritas were only $2 search with the special. Everything was good. Then at the very end of the meal, I think he had a trigger. I asked him what he was thinking about because he got quiet and he kept saying I didn't want to hear it, but I finally got it out of him. He asked if the other man and I went there before. At first, I said no, but then I felt that his question was close enough to need a different answer, and if I would have omitted it, it would have been trickle truth, which I am trying my best to make sure that doesn't happen. So, I told him that we never ate there together. But on one occasion the other man did order some to go and brought it to my work. He left the question alone after that. Later that night we texted about some random stuff, then went to bed. So that was a nice little step for us. He also told me he probably isn't going to go to Galveston with his friends. and the O anymore, and it was probably just all talk, but that he'd like to go at some time. I'm guessing he's saying alone. Hopefully, if that's the case, we will be on good enough terms to go together and have some fun on the beach. I am taking this day by day, as is he. As for the penis thing, yes, the other man was bigger than my husband. I've only seen 8 penises in my life, up close and in person, and 2 were not asked for or wanted. I've slept with 6 men in my life now. My husband has slept with like 20 to 25 before we got together. I'm about to go to my old house to pick up my paycheck since they mailed it there due to me changing my direct deposit. Lately, every time I see my husband, I want to molest him. And every time I see him it gets harder and harder to, but that's what I have to do. The selfish idiot in me almost wants to taunt him so he can't take it anymore, but then that wouldn't do anything good, so I am not. But I'd be lying if I said it didn't cross my mind every 30 seconds when I am around him. Well, I went over there and we chatted about random stuff. Then he brought the other man up. Then he said he is sorry but he can't keep doing this. And he feels horrible because he's always given me anything and everything that I wanted. But he can't do this. I told him that I have so much I wish I could say, but I am just going to do what you want and I will bite my tongue from now on. I told him that he has to start the divorce process and I will sign anything he wants and we can make it as short and painless for him, but that after I sign the last document, we can no longer have any contact between us ever again. He seemed really shocked and sad about that. I just told him it would hurt too much to see him all the time and not be with him. I couldn't take that. He said he understood. Then we sat there holding each other and crying. And I got up and told him I hope you have a good life, and I got in my car and left. He just stood outside on the driveway staring at nothing. I noticed this post seems cold and distant. We did talk over an hour span about the divorce. I am just giving a synopsis. This is the part where I pay her dues. And it sucks. I am not sure if he 100% meant that he just can't work through this as much as he wants, or that he just hurt a lot after we discussed the OM he brought up, and he is just on an emotional roller coaster and maybe his decision will change tomorrow. But I am taking his word and I'm preparing myself for a divorce. If he changes his mind, great, but I am not giving myself hope for that. I am the one who said, if you can't see yourself moving past this, then I guess we need to get a divorce, and told him he might as well get it started so we can be divorced within 60 days, that I just wanted to make him happy. So, he seemed sure at times that we should divorce, then other times he made it seem like he would file for a divorce because it was what I wanted. It's not. I think a part of him wants to try and work it out since it's only 2 weeks past D-Day. But I am not going to push him any further. Just stand by and watch my consequences play out. My comment. Part 3 will be the final part of this story. Sub and bell. I hope you learned something from this and see you in the ending.